Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Megabyte for April 9th, 2020. I'm your host, Brian Gavados, and today you're going to be hearing from a few of our colleagues from In-Store. 3 separate conversations with top performers who'll be sharing their perspectives on best practices, objection handling, and how they keep their skills sharp. So look, enough jibber jabber from me, let's get going. Okay, so here we are with Emily Hoivik. Would you just quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Emily Hoivik. I am a district manager in the Twin Cities of Minnesota market. So I am in the backyard of Best Buy corporate. Prior to coming on with Microsoft, I was with AT&T for over 10 years, and 7 of those years were spent in and out of Best Buys, actually. What's beautiful is that mobile and PC, they blend so well. Especially when you think about OneDrive and the ability to be able to, keep everything directly on your PC, but then also have the ability to store and then see directly on your mobile device.
Emily, you don't need to sell me on OneDrive, okay? But I am glad you brought up OneDrive because we are at this very interesting moment right now, a launch right around the corner for Microsoft 365. What's on your mind as you think about the upcoming launch of Microsoft 365?
Yeah, I would say the top thing on my mind is I feel like I've been waiting forever for this. I remember first day I came into this role, I said, what are we doing with mobile? We have a cloud storage offering. And so the ability to have everything in one place, simplify it, just calling it Microsoft 365, which totally makes sense. So by simplifying, I think it allows us to really expand and open up the way it's been viewed in the past.
I have to tell you, Emily, that's actually a perspective that immediately makes a lot of sense to me. So a lot of the criticism we've been hearing internally is like, oh, it's just a name change, which first it isn't. There are big new powerhouse features that we're talking about with Microsoft 365 that weren't there with Office 365. Nevertheless, the new name is a big deal. And I think you raised an interesting point, which is the whole word of Office can have a big impact on how customers perceive what the product is and what it will mean to them. To your point, Microsoft 365 can represent something at equal times much simpler and yet more powerful and more universal for them.
Absolutely. No question. My coworker said it well. He said, OneDrive turned the conversation from how do you work to how do you live? And I think by simplifying and having Microsoft 365 be the key component, and then of course allowing OneDrive to be the lead to the conversation rather than Office, it just creates a completely different direction.
I want to know, are there any ideas you have around Microsoft 365 to make sure it's a success? If I'm a sales associate listening in on this, what would you want me to really focus on as we get closer to launch?
When you are looking to sell 365, I think knowing the objections first and foremost will really help you. One of the things we put together are objection coachings. In there, it has all of our Lead with 3 and Lead with OneDrive strategy, but it also has Office objections that go along with it. Being able to tackle some of those objections first and foremost and continuously coach through those with your teams, it takes a lot of practice. It will be easier for you to take all of the wonderful things and the knowledge that you have around 365 and really display that and demo that for them rather than just sticking on the objection. So one of the most common objections that we hear is the customer already gets Office through their school or business.
Yeah. It's such a crippling objection. I'm very interested to hear what you have to say because I'm going to steal whatever recommendations you have.
For sure. What's really important is that you respond to them with that is fantastic, or that's awesome.
That's good news.
What a great value for you to be able to have that offer through school or business. Gosh, it must make things much easier for you. And when they start to expound on that, they're either going to go 2 ways. Okay. It's not that great. Like, I guess I don't really know how to use it very well. Okay. Or they'll go another direction where they're like, yeah, it's great. Here's some of the features that I'm using and I really enjoy it. Typically, an associate will get stuck is that they go, okay, well, they love it and it's great and it's wonderful. And so how can I really sell this to them now? But what we're so used to selling is 365 personal. Like it's really dedicated for this one individual. Where we don't tend to start from is home or what will be family. When you think about a school or a business, right? Or especially a school, this is one individual who's likely early 20s. And it's also probably likely that they have other family members. Here's another benefit to having Microsoft 365 Family is that you all are able to use this, up to 6 different individuals. We've actually had a lot of success with this, leading with that and then staying positive when it comes to their current school or business.
But what about when it comes down to the actual demo component? You're in store or perhaps even doing it remotely and you're conveying the value of what Microsoft 365 represents. What are your tactics and strategies about demoing something like Microsoft 365?
Yeah. First and foremost, make sure you're connected with the customer. More than anything, you want to make sure that you're demoing something that's going to make sense and it's relevant to the customer needs. And then the other piece is around RDX. I think it's completely underutilized, and that's
I agree.
Not the salesperson's fault at all. I think this is something where we all kind of need to do a better job just getting in there and just trialing and using different features of RDX throughout the day. So if you can't remember how to do a PowerPoint demo, or you're going through and you want to show them the wonder of OneNote, but you just can't remember how to get there, RDX is a great place to go in and do that without having to remember every key component. And it's also a great way to train yourself.
Emily, first of all, I really appreciate that you came with just mountains of Microsoft 365 perspective to share, because I know that's what so many of us are concerned about. This has all been very valuable. And among all the things I'm going to be stealing from you, the wonders of OneNote is certainly one of them. So thank you so much for your time. And I really appreciate it, Emily.
Thank you.
So here we are with Quentin McKinnon. Now, Quentin, you are a market manager. So can you just explain to us real quick what that is? What's your job? What's your role? Okay. All right. Pause for a minute. I can hear you all laughing because, Brian didn't get his microphone settings correctly. Listen to his echoing. Yeah, you're right. I screwed it up. Okay. But there's nothing I can do about it now because I'm not that good of an editor either. So I'm working my best here. Okay. Quit laughing. I'm trying my hardest. Back to the interview.
So I am a market manager for all of Utah. I go into retail stores to train employees and make sure everything that's in the Microsoft section is represented the way Microsoft wants it. So the job before this was Best Buy. I was working there for a few years and actually watched a Sony rep for the Sony cameras come in. And he was super passionate. He had all this product knowledge. He was happy to train. He was happy to do anything to make the store successful. And then I saw another rep for another company. Mm-hmm. And he would come in and he'd take a photo and he'd walk out the door. And I'd ask him questions and he goes, huh? And I'm like, okay.
Those are two like totally different universes, aren't they?
They were, and they were both in the camera section. And I was baffled as to how someone kept their job doing that. And so I made a giant effort to start looking into like, hey, can I do this for Xbox? Can I do this for Microsoft?
I think we have all experienced what you just described. And I know there's a unique frustration when you see a rep that may even be representing a quality brand, a quality product or whatever. And you just see that the passion, the enthusiasm, and maybe even just the general interest isn't even there. And that's so hair-pullingly frustrating for those of us who are passionate about what we represent. Let me ask you what might be a bit of a difficult question. If, say, someone is not super techie, I know you are, which is great. I'm sure that helps you in a lot of ways in this role. But if someone is not staying up with technology every day or the biggest changes that's happening in the industries all the time, can someone still be good and bring that passion to this role if they're not as technologically informed as, say, you are?
Oh, 100%. I mean, honestly, it's almost better because I see situations with computers, especially, that you get these people that are super passionate to the point where they start spouting off like specs, where I see it's almost better to not have like that level because you don't need that level. What you need is a passion for the actual product. You don't have to have that like in-depth knowledge to where you're joining betas and you're joining all these little things and all these little nuances. Just have you used it yourself? Are you able to tell a real world story and not just oh yeah, I can launch Office on my computer and I will be able to write papers on it. That's a very sterile story to tell.
Okay, so you've been doing this for a while and you've seen a lot of, top performing reps, top performing sales associates, and perhaps those who struggle with their demos, with their customer engagement. So I'm curious, Quentin, if there is perhaps like a single tactic you could convey to everyone to help up their game immediately.
The biggest miss that I see in most stores is not knowing and not utilizing your resources. I've had situations where a customer's in the store talking to an employee and the customer asks, hey, what happens at the 1 year mark of my Office 365 subscription? Now, mind you, I'm standing there about 10 feet away and the employee goes, I don't know.
Ooh, that's rough.
Another one is not having at least even tried these demos yourself beforehand and just merely watching them on screen, watching them on a tutorial or something of, oh, I know how to do this. I watched one video a week ago on how to do this one time. So for sure, I can totally demo this to anyone.
Yes. Watching is not the same as doing. And we don't want you to practice your first time doing a demo on a customer. So how do you stay up to speed? How do you stay sharp? How do you stay informed?
I listen to the Megabyte podcast. Thank you very much.
Without the Megabyte podcast, I would not have a job.
I think it's a twofold answer. First of all, it's staying up to date with all things Microsoft, whether it be Windows or Office or Xbox, just making sure that I'm watching the news. And then it's just playing with these features and thinking about how I would like to be shown them and how I would like to see them being presented to me. Because honestly, this goes back to the sterile demo. Is it just, if you haven't done it yourself, if you haven't played with it yourself, if you haven't done these, it just doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like it has heart to it.
All right. Before we go, I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit of gaming with you because you are, I think, what cool kids call a for real legit gamer. I could have that language incorrect, but you know what? That's why they don't invite me to parties. So, Quentin, what are a couple of your favorite Xbox One titles?
I'll give you two just because one of them is on the way and I'm super excited for it. And that's Hellblade. Honestly, that title was just I'm not going to pick it up, but it looks cool. Good for you. And then it got added to Game Pass and it just, I don't know. I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it an hour. And it became my game of the year 2018, which is really crazy for me because usually that's not my genre. I'm a big multiplayer guy.
So wait a minute. Hold up. When you say your game of the year 2018, are you saying you have some kind of a independent awards ceremony that you throw in your living room?
Don't you?
Okay, so that was your game of the year 2018. What other ones are you excited about?
Well, I mean, you can't go wrong with the Halo series, right? Like, especially Master Chief Collection, Halo 5, and now Halo Infinite on the horizon. I can't think of a game that's been more influential in different stages of my life. When you think about it, it's been around since 2001. I mean, that's a crazy amount of time to have something in your life. I mean, how many things can you say that have been in your life since you were a kid and you've grown up with it and you still enjoy it? You still enjoy like when it comes out. Because I'll tell you, I had Fisher-Price when I was a little kid and I have yet to buy a Fisher-Price product in these last 2 decades.
Well, I mean, you got to just look harder for that inner child of yours. You know, that joy is still there. Fisher-Price. But you're absolutely right. For something to still stay relevant with you as you become an adult and you're still passionate about it like you would have been, 12, 15 years ago, that says a lot about, the staying power and the so-called stickiness of a franchise like that to stick with you for so long. So that's awesome. That's the kind of passion that I knew you would be great to talk with about. So thanks so much for bringing that here. And thanks for these top tips for anyone out there representing Microsoft. Quentin, this has been a blast. Now go buy some kind of preschool toy and just, find the love again, man.
All right, I will.
Okay, and so we are here with Mr. Roberts. Hello, Keenan. How are you today?
Hey, Brian. How are you doing? I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Not too shabby. Thanks so much for giving us your time today. Would you mind just giving us a quick introduction? Who are you? What's your role? And how long have you been working and representing Microsoft?
Yeah, sure. My name is Keenan Roberts. I've been representing Microsoft for just over a year and a half now. Prior to that, I was with T-Mobile and different dealer companies.
You are always called out as someone who has these great insights and perspectives about what can make a successful customer engagement and successful in-store relationship. So I'd love to hear a little bit about, are there any specific features or components to Microsoft 365 that you're excited to showcase to customers?
Yes, most certainly. I would definitely have to call out Microsoft Teams. It's just one of my favorite tools that I use each and every day with my organization. And again, it brings out the collaborative tool and being able to connect with your friends via chat, conference calls, presenting. It really expands what you can do when it comes to everyday work or creativity.
Still to this day, a lot of our customers think that if you need to co-author a document or collaborate on something, that Google Docs is the only answer. I think it's crazy that all of our features that we have when we talk about Office, or what used to be Office 365 and what's going to be Microsoft 365, we can do so much better because we have the full power of the premium Office apps in addition to the online collaboration stuff that Google Docs does.
It blows my mind, honestly, each day that, when I'm in the stores or in the retail environment where I'm asking customers what productivity suite they use. And a lot of them are using Google Docs. And I don't think it's because they're adamant about using Google Docs that maybe no one's showing them how much more productive they can be actually using the Microsoft 365 suite. To see that a lot of students that are in high school or even in college, they're just so used to the Google Docs suite and they just aren't aware of the power of Microsoft 365 and the tools that we have.
Yeah, that's our opportunity, big time. I'm always under the assumption that one of the most difficult things to do when you're working with a big box retailer that has many departments, each with their own supervisors, how do you get buy-in? How do you get buy-in from different associates you interact with and different levels of leadership and stuff within the store? Is there a Keenan way that you like to build relationships in the store?
Honestly, every time I'm in my stores, being introduced to new leadership teams in different stores, because I've covered stores in Minnesota and transferring down to Dallas, working with new partners, getting additional stores added to my roster. I've had to honestly take a specific approach in order to build those relationships and gain buy-in. And it's simply understanding what's important to both of us and how can we have a common goal and develop common ground. And so I really love to lay out three things. And it's why is what we have important for customer? How can it benefit the store? And how can it benefit everyone involved? So when I say everyone involved, I mean the leadership teams down to the store associate level. And when I say it, I mean the value prop. So if we're talking about selling Microsoft 365, why is that important for the leadership team? And talking about profit, because everyone in the store will bonus off of profit.
Yeah.
So, talking about how that residual income will come into the store each year from renewal rates. And then down in the blue shirt, talking about the IST value for hitting their revenue targets. There's always a why for them. And then for the customer, it's simple. We're empowering them to achieve more with Microsoft products. Everybody wins. And it's a simple conversation to have. That's my specific approach when I'm in the store and when I'm developing my relationships. It's not about what I want from you or what you want from me. It's about what's important for the customer and how can we all benefit from that.
So that common goal mentality is, I think, its own shift in perspective. And that's a really important note that you call out there. It almost sounds so predictable to say, but what you're doing is making it real. You're going into the store and saying, this is what I know will help you succeed. And this is what I know will make you excited to make you and your department and your leadership and your store healthier. There. Now, do you want to trust me?
Right.
How do you stay sharp?
Yeah, I'm someone that loves to just seek out new information. So I'm thankful that I do have a lot of resources on the Microsoft side of things, search different programs or features and just learn up myself. But I love to also bounce off of my peers, may know a little bit more about a certain product, and we like to have conversations in that area. But when I'm in the store, I love to walk up to any Windows PC that's running the SDX and just play around with it. You'd be surprised how much you would learn even as a Microsoft specialist, just playing around with the information on the SDX, because there's different demos that will walk you through whether it's picking the right device for a customer or telling you about new features in PowerPoint or whatever it might be. For me, I like to stay sharp again, by utilizing the tools and resources that I have. But when I'm in the store and I don't necessarily have time to pull out my PC, I can just play around with the information that's right in front of me. But better yet, that information is also right in front of the customer. So if I'm spending time doing that and I learn something new, maybe that I'm going to make it a goal to show that to a customer that day, right? So that's how I like to stay prepared, stay informed, and stay sharp when it comes to the new features and updates within Microsoft 365 or Windows 10 or even our Surface line.
And just to be clear, when you say SDX, you probably mean both SDX and RDX, right? Depending on the device.
SDX and RDX, correct.
All right, Mr. Roberts, this has been a fantastic session here. I love all the insights you're sharing. I really do appreciate it. And something tells me that you might be a bit of a gamer. So I got to ask, are you gaming right now? And if so, what are you playing?
Yeah, sure. Honestly, I grew up playing PlayStation.
That we ran out of time. That's all the time we have today, Keenan. Keep going.
But I grew up playing PlayStation, and I guess since I've started my work career and just I've gotten so busy and I've gotten away from playing video games in general until I got a job at Microsoft, and I'm like, okay, what's the big deal about this Xbox? And so I finally got my hands on one, and I've been addicted to one game and one game specifically, and that's Call of Duty Warzone. As soon as it launched, I get on with my buddies and my friends, and like it's on. It's really fun. I love it. The reason why I love it so much, at least compared to when I played PlayStation a lot, is the fact that I can download my Xbox app and I can literally be at work or, just on the go hanging out with friends and they say, hey, add me on Xbox, and I can whip out my phone and I can enter the gamer tag. And I think that collaboration is pretty cool. But I'm not a super duper crazy gamer, but when I game, it's Call of Duty and it's on my Xbox console right now. So
that's awesome. All right, Keenan, as I say, I really appreciate your insights here, and your level of expertise is clearly shining through. So I look forward to talking with you again, because you keep accumulating these tips, and we got to share them. It's our duty to share them. It's our call of duty to share these tips. Thanks so much, Keenan. Yeah. Talk to you soon.
Fine. All right. Bye-bye.
Hey, look, it's a couple of my coworkers for a change. It's Alex Humble and Josh Bassetti. Hey, guys.
Hey, Brian.
Hello.
They've finally weaseled their way into my audio dominion. As long as you're here, fellas, what do you have for us in terms of training materials for our field teams this week? Alex.
Well, Brian, thanks so much for inviting me finally on your podcast, because as you know, I get paid per piece of content that I create. So the first thing that I've been creating is a working from home part 1 and 2 series, just to help those who are working from home for the first time. So you can find those on Learning Network and Expert Zone. We also have a variety of new assets from our Microsoft 365 launch that are all available on different learning systems.
Josh, how about in the magical world of gaming? What's new with Xbox?
Well, hey, as you know, in gaming, it's always going to be something exciting, right? And generally more exciting than Alex's stuff. So we've got the Xbox Game Pass Master List coming this month. As you all know, they come every month. They give you all the new titles that are being added to Game Pass, as well as the Metacritic rating for those games. Keep an eye on that, as well as our What's New document for Xbox, going over all the big news that we want you to know about, as well as listing off our games with gold for April this month. And Fable Anniversary is one of them, and I would say that will sell Xbox Live by itself. Don't believe me? Look up Fable Anniversary. It was sincerely ahead of its time. A great game.
You guys did it. Look at that. I knew you could do it. I had full confidence. Now, I invite you both to return back to your normal jobs of pretending to add value while really just napping. Okay, thanks, guys. And from all of us here on the training team, I'm Brian Gavados, and I'll be back with a very special interview next week. Buckle up. It's going to be a good one. Until then, stay safe, stay positive, keep learning and growing, and I'll chat with you soon.